didn't think it polite to listen, sir.
I am sorry about that. For your sake. I don't play accurately. Anyone can play accurately. But I play with wonderful expression. As far as the piano is concerned, sentiment is my forte. I keep the science for life.
Oh, yes, sir.
And speaking of the science of life, Lane, have you the cucumber sandwiches ordered for Lady Bracknell?
Oh, yes, sir.
By the way, Lane, I see that from your books that last Thursday, when Lord Shorman and Mr. Worthing were dining with me, 8 bottles of champagne are rented as having been consumed.
Ah, yes, sir. 8 bottles and a pint.
Why is it that when at a bachelor's establishment, the servants invariably drink the wine? I ask merely for information.
I attribute it to the superior quality of the wine, sir. I have observed that in many married households, the champagne is rarely a first-rate brand.
Good heavens, is marriage so demoralising as that?
I believe it is a pleasant state, sir. I've had little experience of it myself up to the present. I've only been married once. That was in consequence to a misunderstanding between myself and a younger person.
Oh, no. I don't think that I'm much interested in your family life, Lane.
No, sir, it's not very interesting. I rarely think of it myself.
Very natural, I'm sure. That'll do, Lane. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Lane's views on marriage seem somewhat lax, really. I mean, if the lower orders don't set us a good example, then what on earth is the use of them? They seem as a class to have absolutely no sense of moral responsibility.
Mr. Ernest Worthing.
How are you, my dear Ernest? What brings you to town?
Pleasure. Pleasure. What else should bring one anywhere? Eating as usual, I see, Algy?
Well, I believe it is customary, when in good society, to take a slight refreshment at 5 o'clock. Where have you been since last Thursday?
In the country.
What on earth do you do there?
When one is in the town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one amuses other people. It is excessively boring.
Who are these people you amuse?
Oh, neighbours. Neighbours.
You got nice neighbours in your part of Shropshire?
Perfectly horrid. Never talked to one of them.
How immensely you must amuse them. By the way, Shropshire is your county, is it not?
Shropshire, of course. Hello. Why all these cups? Why cucumber sandwiches? Why such reckless extravagance in one so young? Who's coming to tea?
Merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolen.
How perfectly delightful!
Yes, that is all very well, but I'm afraid I don't quite think Aunt Augusta will approve of your being here.
May I ask why?
Well, my dear fellow, it's the way you flirt with Gwendolen. It's perfectly disgraceful. It's almost as bad as the way Gwendolen flirts with you.
I am in love with Gwendolen. I have come up to town expressly to propose to her.
I thought you'd come up for pleasure. I call that business.
Oh, how utterly unromantic you are.
I don't really see anything romantic about proposing. It's very romantic to be in love, but there's nothing romantic about a definite proposal. Why, well, one may be accepted. One usually is, I believe. Then the excitement's all over. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. But if I ever do get married, I'll certainly try to forget the fact.
Oh, I've no doubt about that, dear Algy. The divorce court was specially invented for people whose memories are so curiously constituted.
There's no use speculating on the subject. Divorces were made in heaven. But please, don't touch the cucumber sandwiches. They were ordered specially for Aunt Augusta.
Will you be eating them all the time?
That's quite a different matter. She's my aunt. Have some bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolen. Gwendolen is devoted to her bread and butter.
And very good bread and butter it is too.
Oh, my dear fellow, you need not eat as though you're going to eat at all. You act as though you're already married to the woman. Not already married to her, and I don't think you ever will be.
What do you mean by that?
In the first place, girls don't marry the men they flirt with. Girls don't think it right.
Oh, that is nonsense.
It isn't. It's great truth. It accounts for the extraordinary number of bachelors one sees all over the place. And in the second place, I don't give my consent.
Your consent?
My dear fellow, Gwendolen is my first cousin, and before I allow you to marry her, you'll have to clear up the whole question of Cecily.
Cecily? What on earth do you mean by that? What do you mean, Algie, by Cecily? I don't know anyone by the name of Cecily.
Bring me that cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoking room the last time he dined here.
Yes, sir.
Do you mean to say that you have had my cigarette case all this time? I wish to goodness you would let me know. I've been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it. I was nearly offering a large reward.
Well, I wish you would offer one. I happen to be more than usually hard up.
Oh, well, there's no point offering a large reward now that the thing is found.
Thank you, lady. I find that rather mean of you, Ernest, I must say. However, it makes no matter, for well, now that I look at the inscription inside, I find the thing isn't yours after all.
And of course it's mine. You've seen it with me 100 times. And you've no right whatsoever to read what is written inside. It is a very ungentlemanly thing to do, to read a private cigarette case.
Oh, it is absurd to have such hard and fast rules about what one should and shouldn't read. More than half of modern culture depends on what one shouldn't read.
I am quite well aware of the fact, and I don't propose to discuss modern culture. It isn't the sort of thing one talks of in private. I simply want my cigarette case back.
Oh, but this isn't your cigarette case. There's a gift from someone by the name of Cecily, and you don't know anyone of that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes, charming old lady she is too. Lives up at Tunbridge Wells. Just give it back to me, Algie.
Yes, but then why does your aunt call herself Little Cecily? From Little Cecily, with her fondest love.
My dear fellow, what on earth is there in that? Some aunts are tall. Some aunts are not tall. That is a matter that surely an aunt should be allowed to decide for herself. You seem to think that every aunt should be exactly like your aunt. That is absurd. For heaven's sake, Algie, just give me back my cigarette case.
Yes, but then why does your aunt call you her uncle? From Little Cecily with her fondest love to dear Uncle Jack. There is no objection, I admit, to an aunt being called a small aunt. But why an aunt, no matter what her size may be, should call her own nephew her uncle? I can't quite make out. Besides, your name isn't Jack at all. It's Ernest.
It isn't Ernest. It's Jack.
But you have always told me it was Ernest. I've introduced you to everyone as Ernest. You answer to the name of Ernest. You look as though your name was Ernest. You are the most earnest-looking fellow I ever saw in my life. It's perfectly absurd you saying your name is not Ernest. It's even on your cards. Mr. Ernest Worthing, B4, the Albany. I'll keep this as proof your name is Ernest. If you ever attempt to deny it to me, or Gwendolen, or anyone else.
Well, my name is Ernest in town and Jack in the country, and the cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but that does not account for the fact that your small Aunt Cecily, who lives in Tunbridge Wells, calls you her dear uncle. Come on, old boy, you'd much better have the thing out at once.
No, Algie, you talk exactly as if you were a dentist. It is very vulgar to talk like a dentist when one isn't a dentist. It produces a false impression.
That's exactly what dentists always do. Now go on, tell me the whole thing. I may mention I'd always suspected you of being a confirmed and secret Bunburyist, and I'm quite sure of it now.
Bunburyist? What on earth do you mean by a Bunburyist?
I shall reveal to you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you are kind enough to reveal to me why you are Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Here it is. Now, produce your explanation, and I pray make it improbable.
My dear fellow, there is nothing improbable about my explanation at all. In fact, it's perfectly ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a little boy, made me in his will guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew. Cecily, who addresses me as uncle, from motives of respect that you could not possibly appreciate, lives up at my place in the country under the charge of her admirable governess, Miss Prism.
Where is that place in the country, by the way?
Oh, that is nothing to you, dear boy. You are not going to be invited. I may tell you candidly that the place is not in Shropshire.
Oh, well, I expected that, my dear fellow. I've Bunburyed across Shropshire on 2 separate occasions. Now, go on. Why are you Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
Oh, my dear Algy, I don't think you'll be able to understand my real motives. You're hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one has to adopt a very high moral tone on all subjects. It's one's duty to do so. And as a very high moral tone can hardly be said to conduce very much to either one's health or to one's happiness, I've always pretended to have a younger brother of Earnest, who lives in the Albany and gets into the most dreadful scrapes. That, my dear young friend, is the whole truth, pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Modern life would be very tedious if it were either. And modern literature a complete impossibility.
That wouldn't be at all a bad thing.
Literary criticism is not your forte, my dear fellow. Don't try it. What you really are is a Bunburyist. I was quite right in saying you were a Bunburyist. You are one of the most advanced Bunburyists I know.
What on earth do you mean?
You have created a very useful younger brother by the name of Earnest, so that you might be able to come to town as often as you like. I have invented an invaluable permanent invalid by the name of Bunbury, so that I might be able to go down to the country whenever I like. Poor Bunbury is perfectly invaluable. And if it wasn't for Bunbury's extraordinarily bad health, I wouldn't be able to dine with you at Willis's tonight. For I've really been engaged to Aunt Augusta for more than a week.
I haven't asked you to dine with me anywhere tonight.
I know. It's absurdly careless of you. It's very foolish as well, not sending out invitations. Nothing annoys one more as not receiving an invitation.
Much better dine with your Aunt Augusta.
I haven't the smallest intention of doing anything of the sort. To begin with, I dined there on Monday, and once a week is more than enough to dine with one's own relations. In the second place, whenever I do dine there, I'm always treated as a member of the family. I'm sent down with either no women at all, or 2. And in the third place, I know exactly whom she will place me next to. She will place me next to Mary Farker, who always flirts with her own husband across the dinner table. This is not pleasant. Indeed, it is not even decent. And that sort of thing is enormously on the increase. The amount of women in London who flirt with their own husbands is perfectly scandalous. It is so bad, it's like washing one's own clean linen in public. Besides, now that I know you to be a confirmed Bunburyist, naturally I want to talk to you about Bunburying. I want to tell you the rules.
I am not a Bunburyist at all. If Gwendolen accepts me, I'm going to kill my brother. Indeed, I think I'll kill him in any case. Cecily is a little too much interested in him. It is rather a bore. So I'm going to get rid of Ernest, and I strongly advise you to do the same with with that absurd friend you have with the absurd name.
Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury. And if you ever do get married, which seems to me extremely problematic, you will be very glad to know Bunbury too. Any man who marries without knowing Bunbury has a very tedious time of it.
That is nonsense. If I marry a charming girl like Gwendolen, and she is the only girl in my life I ever saw that I would marry, I certainly won't want to know Bunbury.
Then your wife will. You don't seem to understand that in married life, 3 is company, 2 is none.
That, my dear young friend, is the theory that the corrupt French drama has been propounding for the last 50 years.
Yes, and the happy English home has proved in half the time.
Oh, for heaven's sake, don't try to be cynical. It is perfectly easy to be cynical.
It isn't perfectly easy to be anything nowadays. There's so much beastly competition about. That must be Aunt Augusta. Only, relatives and creditors ring in that Wagnerian manner. But now, if I can get her out of the way for 10 minutes, so you might have the opportunity of proposing to Gwendolen, may I dine with you at Willis's tonight?
Well, I suppose so, if you want to.
Yes! But you must be serious about it. I hate people who are not serious about meals. It is so shallow of them.
Lady Bracknell and Miss Fairfax.
Good afternoon, dear Algernon. I hope you are behaving very well.
I'm feeling very well, thank you, Aunt Augusta.
That is not quite the same thing. In fact, the two things rarely go together.
Dear me, you are smart.
I'm always smart, am I not, Mr. Worthing?
You're quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Well, I hope I'm not that. That would leave no room for developments. And I intend to develop in many different directions.
I'm sorry if we are a little late, Algernon, but I was obliged to call on dear Lady Harbury. I have not seen her since her poor husband's death. I've never seen a woman so altered. She looked quite 20 years younger. And now, I shall have a cup of tea and one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Certainly, Aunt Augusta.
Won't you come and sit here, Gwendolen?
I'm quite happy where I am, Mamma.
Good heavens, Lane! Why are there new cucumber sandwiches? I ordered them specially for Aunt Augusta.
There was no cucumber in the market this morning, sir. I went down twice.
No cucumber!
No, sir, not even for ready money.
Well, that will do, Lane. Thank you.
No, sir, thank you.
I am greatly distressed, Aunt Augusta, by there being no cucumbers, not even for ready money.
It really makes no matter, Algernon. I had some crumpets with dear Lady Harbury, who seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now.
I do hear her hair has turned quite gold from grief.
It certainly has changed its colour. From what cause, I of course cannot say. Thank you. I've quite a treat for you tonight, Algernon. I am going to send you down with dear Mary Farker. She is such a nice woman and so attentive to her husband. It's delightful to watch them.
Well, I am afraid, Aunt Augusta, that I shall have to give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight after all.
I should hope not, Algernon. It would put my table completely out. Your uncle would have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he is accustomed to that.
Well, it is a great bore, and I need not say a terrible disappointment, but you see, the fact is, I've just had a telegram to say that my poor friend Bunbury is dreadfully ill again, and they seem to think I should be there for him.
It is very strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously bad health.
Poor Bunbury is a dreadful invalid.
Well, I think that it's high time Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or to die. This shilly-shallying with the question is absurd, nor do I in any way approve of the modern-day sympathy with invalids. I consider it morbid. Illness of any kind is not something to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life. I am always telling that to your poor uncle, though he never seems to take much notice as far as any improvement in his ailment goes. Now, I should be much obliged if you would ask Mr. Bunbury, from me, to be kind enough not to have a relapse on Saturday. For I require you to arrange my music for me. It's my last reception, and one wants something that will encourage conversation in others, particularly at the end of the season, when everyone has practically said whatever it was they had to say, which in most cases was probably not much.
Well, I'll talk to Bunbury, Aunt Augusta, if he's still conscious, and I think I can promise you he'll be all right by Saturday. The music is, of course, of great difficulty. If one plays good music, people don't listen, and if one plays bad music, people don't talk. But I'll run over the programme I've drawn out, if you'll kindly come with me into the next room for a moment.
Thank you, Algernon. That is very kind of you. I am sure the programme will be delightful after a few expurgations. French songs I cannot possibly allow. People always seem to think they are improper and either look shocked, which is vulgar, or laugh, which is worse. Now, German sounds a thoroughly respectable language, and indeed, I believe is so. Gwendolen, you will accompany me.
Certainly, Mamma.
Charming day it has been, Miss Fairfax.
Pray don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever people talk to me about the weather, I'm always quite certain they mean something else, and that makes me so nervous.
I do mean something else.
I thought so. In fact, I'm never wrong.
And I would like to be allowed to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary absence.
I would certainly advise you to do so. Mamma has a way of coming back suddenly into a room that I've often had to talk to her about.
Gwendolen, ever since I first met you, I have admired you more than any girl I have ever met since I've met you.
Yes, I'm quite well aware of the fact. And I often wish that in public, at any rate, you'd been more demonstrative. For me, you have always had an irresistible fascination. Even before I met you, I was far from indifferent to you. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Worthing, in an age of ideals. The fact is constantly mentioned in the more expensive monthly magazines, and has reached the provincial pulpits, I'm told. And for me, my ideal has always been to love someone of the name Earnest. There is something in that name that inspires absolute confidence. The moment Algernon told me he had a friend called Earnest, I knew I was destined to love you.
You really love me, Gwendolen.
Passionately.
Oh, darling, you don't know how happy you've made me.
Ernest, my own Ernest.
But you don't mean to say that you couldn't love me if my name wasn't Ernest.
But your name is Ernest.
Yes, I know it is. But supposing it was something else, you mean to say that you couldn't love me then?
That is clearly a metaphysical speculation. And like most metaphysical speculations, has very little reference at all to the actual facts of real life as we know them.
Well, personally, darling, to speak quite candidly, I don't much like the name of Ernest. I don't think the name suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly. It is a divine name. It has a music of its own. It produces vibrations.
Well, really, Gwendolen, I think that there are lots much nicer names. Jack, for instance. I think it's a charming name.
Jack. No, there is very little music in the name Jack, if any at all indeed. It does not thrill. Produces absolutely no vibrations. I've known several Jacks, and they all, without exception, are more than usually plain. Besides, Jack is a notorious domesticity for John, and I pity any woman who is married to a man called John. They probably never know the entrancing moment of a single moment's solitude. The only real safe name is Earnest.
Gwendolen, I must get christened at once. I mean, we must get married at once. There is no time to be lost.
Married? Mr. Worthing?
Well, surely. You know that I love you, and you have led me to believe, Miss Fairfax, that you are not absolutely indifferent to me.
I adore you, but you haven't proposed to me yet. Nothing has been said at all about marriage. The subject hasn't even been touched on.
Well, may I propose to you now?
I think now would be an admirable opportunity. And to spare you any possible disappointment, Mr. Worthing, I think it's only fair to tell you quite frankly that I am fully determined to accept you.
Gwendolen.
Yes, Mr. Worthing. What have you got to say to me?
You know what I've got to say to you.
Yes, sir. Don't say it.
Oh, yes. Gwendolen, will you marry me?
Yes, of course I will, darling. How long have you been about it? I'm afraid you've had very little experience in how to propose.
My own one, I've never loved anyone in the world but you.
Yes, but men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. All my girlfriends tell me so. Oh, what wonderfully brown eyes you have, Ernest. They're quite brown. I hope you will always look at me just like that, especially when other people are present.
Mr. Worthing! Rise, sir, from this semi-recumbent posture. It is most indecorous.
Mamma, I must beg you to retire. This is no place for you. Besides, Mr. Worthing's not quite finished yet.
Finished what, may I ask?
I'm engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Pardon me. You are not engaged to anyone. When you do become engaged to someone, I or your father, should his health permit, will inform unpleasant as the case may be. It is hardly a decision she could be allowed to make for herself. And now, I have a few questions to put to you, Mr. Worthing. While I am making these inquiries, you, Gwendolen, will wait for me below in the carriage.
Mama!
In the carriage, Gwendolen. Gwendolen, the carriage!
Yes, Mama!
You may take a seat, Mr. Worthing.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to tell you, you are not down on my list of eligible young men. Though I have the same list as the dear Duchess of Bolton has. We work together, in fact. However, I am quite ready to enter your name, should your answers be what a really affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit I smoke.
I am very glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is. How old are you?
29.
A very good age to be married at. Now, I have always been of the opinion that a man who desires to get married should know either everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I am very pleased to hear it. I do not approve of anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate exotic fruit. Touch it, and the bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately, in England at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would prove a serious danger to the upper classes and probably lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square. What is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
In land or in investments?
In investments, chiefly.
That is satisfactory. What between the duties expected from one during one's life and the duties exacted from one after one's death, land has ceased to be either a profit or a pleasure. It gives one position, but prevents one from keeping it up. That's all that can be said about land.
I have a country house, of course, with some land attached to it. About 1,500 acres, I believe, but I don't depend on that for my real income. In fact, as far as I can make out, the poachers are the only people who can get anything out of it.
A country house. How many bedrooms? Oh, well, that point can be cleared up later. You do have a townhouse, I hope. A girl with a simple, unspoilt nature like Gwendolen could hardly be expected to reside in the country.
I own a house in Belgrave Square, although it is let by the year to Lady Bloxham. Of course, I can get it back whenever I like at 6 months' notice.
Lady Bloxham? No, I don't know her.
Oh, she goes about very little. She's a lady considerably advanced in years.
Well, nowadays, that is no guarantee of respectability of character. What number, Belgrave Square?
149.
The unfashionable side. I thought there was something. However, that could be easily altered.
Do you mean the fashion or the side?
Well, both, if necessary, I presume. What are your politics?
Well, I'm afraid I really have none. I'm a Liberal Unionist.
They count as Tories. They come in the evening or dine with us at any rate. Now, to minor matters. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents.
To lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, could be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. Who was your father? He was evidently a man of some wealth. Was he born in what the radical papers call the purple of commerce? Or did he rise through the ranks of the aristocracy?
I'm afraid I really don't know. The fact is, Lady Bracknell, I said that I lost my parents. It would be nearer the truth to say that my parents seem to have lost me. I don't really know who I am by birth. I was found.
Found?
The late Mr. Thomas Cardew, an old man of a very kindly and charitable disposition, found me and gave me the name of Worthing, because he happened to have a first-class ticket in his pocket to Worthing at the time. Worthing is a place in Sussex. It's a seaside resort.
And where did this charitable gentleman who had a first-class ticket for this seaside resort find you?
In the cloakroom at Victoria Station. It was given to him in mistake for his own.
The cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes, in handbag.
A handbag?
Yes, Lady Bracknell, I was in a handbag, a somewhat large, black leather handbag, with handles to it. An ordinary handbag, in fact.
And in what locality did this Mr. James or Thomas Cardew find this ordinary handbag?
The cloakroom at Victoria Station?
The cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes, the Brighton line.
The line is immaterial, Mr. Worthing. I confess, I am somewhat bewildered by what you have just told me. To be born, or at any rate bred, in a handbag, whether it had handles or not, seems to me to display a contempt for the ordinary decencies of family life that remind one of the worst excesses of the French Revolution. And I presume you know what that unfortunate movement led to. As for the particular locality of the handbag, a cloakroom at a railway station might serve to conceal a social indiscretion, and probably has been used for that purpose before now. But it could hardly be regarded as an assured basis for a position in good society.
May I ask you then, what would you advise me do? I need hardly say I would do anything in the world to ensure Gwendolen's happiness.
I would strongly advise you, Mr. Worthing, to acquire some relations, and to make a definite effort to produce at least one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
Well, I don't see how I would be able to do that. I can produce the handbag at any moment. It is in my dressing room at home. I really think that should satisfy you, Lady Bracknell.
Me, sir? What has it to do with me? You can hardly imagine that I and Lord Bracknell would dream of allowing our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, to marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel. Good morning, Mr. Worthing.
Oh, good morning! Oh, don't play that ghastly tune, Algy! How idiotic you are!
So didn't it go off all right, old boy? You don't mean to tell me Gwendolen refused you? No, it's a terrible way she has. She's always refusing people. I find it most ill-natured of her.
Oh, Gwendolen is as right as a trivet. As far as she is concerned, we are engaged. Her mother is perfectly unbearable. Never met such a gorgon. I don't really know what a gorgon is like, but I'm quite certain that Lady Bracknell is one. In any case, she is a monster without being a myth, which is rather unfair. I beg your pardon, dear Algy, I suppose I shouldn't talk about your own aunt in that way before you.
Oh, my dear boy. I love hearing my relations abused. It's the only thing that helps me put up with them. Relations are simply a tedious pack of people who haven't the remotest knowledge on how to live, nor the smallest instinct about when to die.
Oh, that is nonsense.
It isn't.
Well, I won't argue about the matter. You always want to argue about things.
That's exactly what things were originally made for, no?
Oh, upon my word. If I thought that, I would shoot myself. You don't think that there's any chance of Gwendolen becoming like her mother in about 150 years, do you, Algy?
All women become like their mothers. That's their tragedy. No man ever does. That's his.
Is that clever?
It's perfectly phrased, and quite as true as any observation in civilized life should be.
Oh, I am sick to death of cleverness. Everybody is clever nowadays. You can't go anywhere without meeting clever people. The thing has become an absolute public nuisance. I wish to goodness we had a few fools left.
We have.
I should extremely like to meet them. What do they talk about?
The fools? Why, clever people, of course.
Oh, what fools?
By the way, did you happen to tell Gwendolen the truth about your being Earnest in town and Jack in the country?
Oh, my dear fellow, the truth isn't quite the sort of thing one tells to a nice, sweet, refined girl. What extraordinary ideas you have about the way to behave to a woman.
The only proper way to behave to a woman is to make love to her if she is pretty. And to someone else if she is plain.
That is nonsense.
What about your brother? What about the profligate Ernest?
Before the end of the week, I shall have gotten rid of him. I'll say he died in Paris of apoplexy. Lots of people die quite suddenly of apoplexy, don't they?
Well, yes, but it's hereditary, my dear fellow. The kind of thing that runs in the family. You'd much better say a severe chill.
And you are sure a severe chill isn't hereditary or anything of that kind?
Of course it isn't.
Very well then. My brother Ernest is carried off suddenly in Paris by a severe chill. I get rid of him.
But I thought you said that Miss Cardew was a little too much interested in your poor brother Ernest. Won't she feel his loss a great deal?
That is all right. Cecily is not a silly romantic girl, I'm glad to say. She goes long walks, has got capital appetite, and pays no attention at all to her lessons.
I'd rather like to see this, Cecily.
I will take good care that you never do! She is excessively pretty, and only just 18.
Well, have you told Gwendolen that you have an excessively pretty ward who's only just 18?
Oh, one doesn't blurt these things out to people. Gwendolen and Cecily are perfectly certain to be extremely great friends. I will bet you anything that half an hour after they have met, they will be calling each other sister.
Women only do that when they've called each other a lot of other things first. Now, my dear boy, we'd best go and dress. Did you know it was nearly 7?
Oh, it is always nearly 7.
Well, I'm hungry.
I never knew you when you weren't.
What should we do after dinner? Go to the theatre?
Oh, no, I loathe listening.
Well, we might go to the club then.
Oh, no, I hate talking.
We could trot round the Empire at 10.
Oh, I can't bear looking at things. It is so silly.
Then what shall we do?
Nothing.
It's rather hard work doing nothing. However, I don't mind hard work when there's no definite objective of any kind.
Miss Fairfax.
Gwendolen, upon my word.
Algy, kindly turn your back. I have something very particular to say to Mr. Worthing.
Now, really, Gwendolen, I don't think I can allow this.
Algy, you always adopt a strictly immoral attitude towards life. You're not quite old enough to do that.
My own darling.
Ernest, we may never be married. From the expression of Mamma's face, I fear we never shall. Few parents nowadays pay any regards to what their children say to them. The old-fashioned respect for the young is fast dying out. Whatever influence I had over Mamma, I lost at the age of 3. But although she may prevent us from becoming man and wife, and I may marry someone else, and marry often, there is nothing she could possibly do that could alter my eternal devotion to you.
Oh, Gwendolen.
Your romantic origin, as related to me by Mamma with unpleasing comments, has naturally stirred the deep fibres of my nature. Your Christian name has an irresistible fascination, and the simplicity of your character makes you inexquisitely incomprehensible to me. Your town address at the Albany I have. What is your address in the country?
The Manor House, Woolton, Hertfordshire.
There is a good postal service, I suppose. It may be necessary to do something desperate. That, of course, will require serious consideration. I'll communicate with you daily.
Oh, my own one.
How long do you remain in town?
Till Monday.
Okay, Algy, you may turn around now.
Thank you, I already have.
You may also ring the bell.
Oh, you will let me see you to your carriage, my own darling.
Of course.
I will see Miss Fairfax out.
Yes, sir.
No. No. But... Glass of sherry, Lane.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow, Lane, I'm going bunburying.
Oh, yes, sir.
I shan't be back till Monday. You can put up my dress clothes, my smoking jacket, and all the Bunbury suits.
Yes, sir.
I do hope tomorrow will be a fine day, Lane.
It never is, sir.
Oh, Lane, you are the perfect pessimist.
Oh, well, I do my best to give Satisfaction, sir. There's a sensible...
The only girl I ever loved in my life. What are you so amused at?
Oh, I'm simply anxious about poor Bunbury, that's all.
If you don't take good care, your friend Bunbury will get you into a serious scrape one day.
I do love scrapes. Yeah, they're the only thing in life that's never serious.
That is nonsense, Algy. You never talk anything but nonsense.
Nobody ever does.
pleasures await you. Your German grammar is on the table. Pre-open at 15, we're going to repeat yesterday's lesson.
I don't like German. It isn't at all a becoming language. I'm perfectly aware that I look quite plain after my German lessons.
Child, you know how anxious your guardian is that you should improve yourself in every way. Indeed, he laid particular stress on your German as he was leaving for town yesterday. But he always lays stress on your German as he is leaving for town.
Dear Uncle Jack is so very serious. Sometimes I think he's so serious that I don't think he would be quite well.
Your guardian enjoys the best of health. His gravity of demeanour is especially to be commended in one so comparatively young as he is. I know no one who has a higher sense of duty and responsibility.
And I suppose that's why he often looks so bored when us three are together.
Cecily! I am surprised at you. Mr. Worthing has many troubles in his life. Idle merriment and triviality would be out of place in his conversation. And you must remember that constant anxiety about that unfortunate young man, his brother.
Well, I wish Uncle Jack would allow that unfortunate young man, his brother, to come down here sometimes. Or we might be a good influence over him, Miss Prism. I'm sure you certainly would, you know, German and geology, and things like that influence a man so very much.
No, I do not think that even I could produce any effect on a man that, according to his own brother's admission, is so irretrievably weak and vacillating. I should have no desire to reclaim him. I am not in favour of this modern mania of turning bad people into good people at a moment's notice. As a man sows, so let him reap. Put away your diary, Cecily. I really don't see why you should keep a diary at all.
I keep a diary in order to enter the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't, I should probably forget about them.
Memory, my dear Cecily, is the diary that we all carry about with us.
Yes, but it usually chronicles the things that haven't happened or couldn't possibly have happened. I believe that memory is responsible for all 3-volume novels that Maudie sends us.
Do not speak slightingly of the 3-volume novel, Cecily. I wrote one myself in earlier days.
Oh, did you really, Miss Prism? How wonderfully clever of you. And was your novel ever published?
Alas, no. The manuscript, unfortunately, was abandoned. I use the term in the sense of loss or mislaid. To your work, child, these speculations are profitless.
Well, I say to Dr. Chasuble coming through the garden.
Dr. Chasuble, my, this is indeed a pleasure.
And how are we this morning? Miss Prism, you are, I trust, well.
Oh, Miss Prism has just been complaining of a slight headache, Dr. Chasuble. I think a walk in the garden would do her much good.
Cecily, I have not mentioned anything about a headache.
No, you did not, Miss Prism. But I felt it instinctively that you did. And indeed, I was thinking about that and not about my German lesson when the rector came in.
I hope, Cecily, you're not inattentive.
Oh, I'm afraid I am.
That is strange. Were I fortunate enough to be Miss Prism's pupil, I would hang upon her lips. I spoke metaphorically. My metaphor was drawn from the beast. Mr. Worthing, I suppose, has not returned from town yet.
No, we do not expect him till Monday afternoon.
Of course, he usually likes to spend his Sundays in London. He's not one of those whose sole aim is enjoyment, as by all accounts, an unfortunate young man his brother seems to be. But I will not disturb Egeria and her pupil any longer.
Egeria? My name is Letitia, Doctor.
Classical illusion, merely, drawn from the pagan authors. I shall see you both, no doubt, at evensong.
I think, dear Doctor, I will have a stroll with you. I find I have a headache after all, and, well, a walk might do it good.
With pleasure, Miss Prism, with pleasure. We might go as far as the schools and back.
Oh, well, that would be delightful. Oh, Cecily, you will read your political economy in my absence. The chapter on the fall of the rupee you may omit. It is somewhat too sensational. Even these metallic problems have their melodramatic side.
Let's go.
Horrid political economy, horrid geography, horrid German.
Mr. Earnest Worthing has driven up from the station. He's brought his luggage with him.
Mr. Ernest Worthing, B4 the Albany, W. Uncle Jack's brother! Oh, and did you tell him Mr. Worthing was in London?
Yes, miss. He seemed very much disappointed. I did tell him that you and Miss Prism were in the garden together. He seemed anxious to speak with you privately.
Oh, ask Mr. Ernest Worthing to come out here. I suppose you better talk to the housekeeper about a room for him.
Yes, miss.
I have never met any truly wicked person before. Oh, I feel rather frightened. I'm so afraid he will look just like everybody else. He does.
You are my little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
I am not little. In fact, I am considered unusually tall for my age. But I am your cousin Cecily. And you, I see from your card, are my Uncle Jack's brother. My cousin Ernest, my wicked cousin Ernest.
You mustn't think that I'm wicked, cousin Cecily. I'm not really wicked at all.
If you are not, then you have certainly been deceiving us all in a very bad and excusable manner. I hope you've not been leading a double life pretending to be wicked and being really good all the time. That would be hypocrisy.
Well, of course I have been rather reckless.
I'm glad to hear it.
In fact, now that you mention it, I have been quite bad in my own small way.
I don't think you should be so proud of that. Though, I'm sure it must have been very pleasant.
It is much pleasanter being here with you.
I can't understand how you're here at all. Uncle Jack won't be back till Monday afternoon.
That is a great disappointment. You see, I am obliged to go up by the first train on Monday morning. I have a business appointment I'm anxious to miss.
Couldn't you miss it anywhere but in London?
No, you see, the appointment's actually in London.
Well, I know, of course, how important it is to keep a business engagement if one is going to maintain any sense of life. But I still think you better wait until Uncle Jack arrives. He's going to talk to you about you emigrating.
About my what?
Are you emigrating? He's gone to buy you an outfit.
Oh, I certainly wouldn't let Jack buy me an outfit. He has absolutely no taste in neckties at all.
No, I don't think you'll require neckties. Well, Uncle Jack is sending you to Australia.
Australia? I'd sooner die.
He said dinner on Wednesday that you'd have to choose between this world, the next world, and Australia.
Well, the reports I've received of the next world and Australia aren't particularly encouraging, so this world is good enough for me, Cousin Cecily.
Yes, but are you good enough for it?
I'm afraid I'm not, which is why I was hoping you might reform me. You could make that your mission if you didn't mind, Cousin Cecily.
I'm afraid I have no time this afternoon.
Well, would you mind my reforming myself this afternoon?
That is rather quixotic of you, but I think you should try.
I will. I feel better already.
You look a little worse.
Well, that's because I'm hungry.
Oh, how foolish of me! I forgot that when one is going to start an entirely new life, one requires regular and wholesome meals. Won't you come in?
Well, thank you, but might I have a buttonhole first? I never have any appetite unless I have a buttonhole first.
A marshal
No, I'd sooner have a pink rose.
Why?
Well, it's you. I like a pink rose, Cousin Cecily.
I don't think it's quite right for you to talk to me like that. Miss Prism never says such things.
Well, Miss Prism is a short-sighted old lady. You are the prettiest girl I ever saw.
Well, Miss Prism says that all good looks are a snare.
They are a snare, but every sensible man would love to be caught in.
I shouldn't like to catch a sensible man. I wouldn't know what to talk to him about. Well, you are too much alone, dear Dr. Chasuble. Why? You should get married. A misanthrope, I can understand, but a womanthrope, never.
Believe me, I do not deserve so neologistic a phrase. The precept, as well as the practice of the primitive church, was distinctly against matrimony.
Well, that is obviously the reason why the primitive church has not lasted up to present day. And you do not seem to realize, dear doctor, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself into a permanent public temptation. Men should be more careful. This very celibacy leads weaker vessels astray.
But is a man not equally attractive when married?
No married man is ever attractive except to his wife.
And often, I've been told, not even to her.
Well, that entirely depends on the intellectual sympathies of the woman. Maturity can be depended on, ripeness can be trusted. Young women agree. I spoke horticulturally. My metaphor drawn from fruit. But now where is Cecily?
Perhaps she followed us to the schools.
Mr. Worthing!
Mr. Worthing!
This is indeed a surprise. We did not look for you till Monday afternoon.
I've returned sooner than I expected. Dr. Chasuble, I hope you are well.
Mr. Worthing, I trust this garb of woe does not betoken some terrible calamity.
My brother?
Or shameful debts in extravagance.
Still leading his life of pleasure?
Dead!
Your brother Ernest is dead!
Quite dead.
Oh, what a lesson for him. I trust he will profit by it.
Mr. Worthing, I must offer you my most sincere condolence. You have at least the comfort of knowing that you were always most generous and forgiving of brothers.
Poor Ernest. He had many faults, but it is a sad, sad blow.
Very sad indeed. Were you with him at the end?
No, he died in Paris, in fact. I received a telegram last night from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
Was the cause of death mentioned?
A severe chill, it seems.
Well, as a man sows, so shall he reap.
Charity, dear Miss Prism, charity. None of us are. I myself am peculiarly susceptible to drafts. Will the interment take place here?
No. He seems to have expressed a desire to be buried in Paris.
Paris? I fear that hardly points to any very serious state of mind at the last. You would no doubt wish me to make some slight allusion to this tragic domestic affliction next Sunday. My sermon on the meaning of the manna in the wilderness can be adapted to almost any occasion. Joyful, or as in the present case, distressing. I have preached it at harvest celebrations, christenings, confirmations, on days of humiliation, and feastal days. The last time I delivered it was in the cathedral, as a charity sermon on behalf of the Society for the Prevention of Discontent among the Upper Orders. The bishop, who was present, was much struck by some of the analogies I drew.
That reminds me, you mentioned christenings, I think, Dr. Chasuble? I suppose you know how to christen, all right?
Of course.
I mean, of course, you are continually christening, aren't you?
It is, I regret to say, one of the rector's most constant duties in this parish. I have often spoken to the poorer classes on the matter, but they don't seem to know what thrift is.
But is there any particular infant in whom you are interested in, Mr. Worthing? Your brother was, I believe, unmarried, was he not?
Oh, yes.
People who live entirely for pleasure usually are.
But it is not for any child, dear doctor. I'm very fond of children.
What?
No, no. As a matter of fact, I wish to be christened myself. This afternoon, if you have nothing better to do.
But surely, Mr. Worthing, you've been christened already.
I don't remember anything about it.
Now, but do you have any grave doubts on the subject?
I certainly intend to have. Although I don't know if the thing would bother you in any way, or if you think I'm a little too old now.
Oh, not at all. The sprinkling, and indeed immersion of adults, is a perfectly canonical practice.
Immersion?
You need have no apprehension. Sprinkling is all that is necessary, or indeed I think advisable, whether it can be so changeable. At what hour would you wish the ceremony to be performed?
Oh, I might trot round about 5, if that would suit you.
Oh, perfectly, perfectly. In fact, I have 2 similar ceremonies to be performed at that time. A case of twins that occurred recently in one of the outlying cottages on your own estate. Oh, Jenkins the carter is a most hard-working man.
Oh, I don't see much fun in being christened alongside other babies. That would be childish. Would 5:30 do?
Perfectly, perfectly. And now, dear Mr. Worthing, I will return to the church. I would merely beg you not be too much bowed down by grief. What seem to us bitter trials are often blessings in disguise.
This seems to me a blessing of an extremely obvious kind. Uncle Jack! Oh, you're back! What horrid clothes you have on. Go and change those. Cecily!
My child!
What's the matter, Uncle Jack? Well, do look happy. You look as if you have the toothache. But I have got a surprise for you. Who do you think is in the dining room? Your brother! Oh,
Who?
your brother Ernest! He arrived about half an hour ago.
What nonsense. I haven't got a brother.
Oh, Uncle Jack, don't say such things. However badly he may have behaved in the past, he is still your brother. Now, I'm going to go and fetch him, and you will shake hands with him, won't you, Uncle Jack?
These are very joyful tidings.
After we had all been resigned to his loss, his sudden return seems to me peculiarly distressing.
My brother in the dining room. I don't know what it all means. I think it is perfectly absurd. Oh, good heavens!
Brother John, I've come down from town to tell you that I'm very sorry for all the trouble I've caused, and I intend to lead a better life in the future.
Uncle Jack, you're not going to refuse your own brother's hand, are you?
Nothing will induce me to take this man's hand. I think he's coming down here disgraceful. He knows perfectly well why.
Uncle Jack, do be nice. Ernest has just been telling me about his poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, from whom he goes to visit so often. And surely there must be much good to a man who is kind to an invalid, who sits by a bed of pain and leaves the comforts of London.
Oh, he's been talking to you about Bunbury, has he?
Yes, he's been telling me all about Mr. Bunbury and his terrible state of health.
Well, I won't have him talk to you about Bunbury or anything else. It is enough to drive one perfectly frantic.
While I admit that the faults were indeed all on my side, I must say that I find Brother John's coldness towards me particularly painful. I was expecting a more enthusiastic welcome, especially considering it is the first time I have been here.
Uncle Jack, if you do not shake your brother's hand, I shall never forgive you.
never forgive me.
Never, never, never.
This is the last time I shall ever do it.
It is pleasant, is it not, to see so perfect a reconciliation. I think we might leave the two brothers together.
Yes. Cecily, you would come with us? Oh, certainly, Miss Prism. My little task of reconciliation is over.
You have done a beautiful action today, dear child.
We must not be premature in our judgments. Oh, I feel so very happy.
Out, you young scoundrel! You must get out of this place as soon as possible. I don't allow any bunburying here.
I have put Mr. Ernest Worthing's things in the room next to your own, sir. I do suppose that is all right. Mr. Ernest's luggage, sir. I put it in the room next to your own.
His luggage.
Yes, sir. 3 portmanteaus, a dressing case, 2 hat boxes, and a large luncheon basket.
I'm afraid I can't stay more than a week this time.
Ferryman, order the dog cart at once. Mr. Earnest has been suddenly called back to town.
Yes, sir.
What a fearful liar you are, Jack. I've not been called back to town at all.
Yes, you have.
I haven't heard anyone call me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
My duty as a gentleman has never once interfered with my pleasures in the slightest.
Oh, I can quite understand that.
Well, Cecily is a darling.
You are not to talk or miscard you like that. Don't like it.
Well, I don't like your clothes. You look perfectly ridiculous in them. Why on earth don't you go and change them? You know, it's perfectly childish to be in deep mourning for a man who's actually staying with you in your house for a week as a guest. I call it grotesque.
You are certainly not staying in my house for a week as a guest or anything else. You have got to leave by the 4:05 train.
Well, I certainly won't leave you so long as you were in mourning. It'd be most unfriendly of me. Were I in mourning, you would stay by my side, I suppose. I'd find it most unkind if you didn't.
Well, will you go if I change my clothes?
Yes, if you don't take too long. I've never seen anybody take so long to dress and with such little result.
Well, at any rate, that is better than being always overdressed as you are.
If I am occasionally overdressed, I make up for it by always being immensely overeducated.
Your vanity is ridiculous. Your conduct an outrage, and your presence in my garden utterly absurd. However, you have got to catch the 4:05, and I hope you will have a pleasant journey back to town. This bunburying, as you call it, has not been a great success for you.
Well, I think it's been a great success. I'm in love with Cecily, and that's everything. But I must see her again. Make arrangements for another bunbury. Ah, there she is.
Oh, I nearly came back towards the roses. I thought you were with Uncle Jack.
He has gone to order the dog cart for me.
Oh, is he going to take you for a nice drive?
He's sending me away.
Then we have got to part.
I'm afraid so, and it is a most painful parting.
It is always very painful to part from one whom is known for a very brief space of time. The absence of old friends one can enjoy with equanimity, but even a momentary separation from someone whom has just met is almost unbearable.
Thank you.
The dog cart is at the door, sir.
It can wait, Merriman, for 5 minutes.
Yes, miss.
I hope, Cecily, I shall not offend. If I state quite frankly and openly that you seem to be in every way the visible personification of perfection.
Oh, I think your frankness does you great credit, Ernest. If you allow me, I shall copy your remarks into my diary.
Do you really keep a diary? Oh, well, I don't have anything to see it. May I?
No! You see, it is consequence of a young girl's thoughts and impressions, and consequence of mental publication. When it appears in volume form, I do hope you order a copy. But I'm quite ready for more. Don't cough, Ernest. Oh, when one is dictating, one should speak fluently and not cough. Besides, I don't know how to spell cough.
Cecily, ever since I first looked upon your wonderful and incomparable beauty, I've dared to love you wildly, passionately, devotedly, and hopelessly.
I don't think that you should tell me that you love me wildly, passionately, devotedly, and hopelessly. Well, hopelessly doesn't really make much sense, does it?
Cecily.
The dog cart is waiting, sir.
Tell it to come round next week. Same hour.
Yes, sir.
Well, Uncle Jack would be very much annoyed to know you were staying on until next week, at the same hour.
But I don't care about Jack. I don't care about anybody in the whole world but you. I love you, Cecily. You will marry me, won't you?
Oh, you silly boy, of course. Why, we have been engaged for the last 3 months!
The last 3 months?
Well, yes, it'll be exactly 3 months on Thursday.
But how exactly did we become engaged?
Well, ever since Uncle Jack told us that he had a brother who was very bad and wicked, you, of course, have formed chief topic of conversation between myself and Miss Prism. And of course, the man who is much talked about is very attractive. I dare say it was foolish of me, but I fell in love with you, Ernest!
Darling. And when was our engagement actually settled?
Oh, on the 14th of February last. Worn out by your entire ignorance of my existence, I determined to end the matter one way or the other. Oh, the next day, I went out and bought this little ring in your name. And here's the bangle with the true love's knot that I promised you I'd always wear.
Do I really get you this? It's very pretty, isn't it?
Well, yes, you've wonderfully good taste, Ernest. It's the excuse I've always given for you leading such a bad life. Oh, and here is where I keep your letters.
My letters! But, my own sweet Cecily, I've never written you any letters.
Oh, you need hardly remind me of that, Ernest. I was reminded only too often that I was forced to write your letters for you. I wrote always 3 times a week and sometimes oftener.
Do you let me read them, Cecily?
Oh, no, I couldn't possibly. They would make you far too conceited. The ones you wrote to me after engagement was broken off are so beautifully written and so badly spelled, and I can hardly read them without crying a little.
But was our engagement ever broken off?
Oh, on the 22nd of last March. You can see the entry if you like. Today, I broke off my engagement with Ernest. I feel as if it is the right thing to do. The weather still continues to be charming.
What had I done? I'd done nothing at all. Cecily, I'm very much hurt indeed to hear that you would break it off, particularly when the weather's so charming.
Well, it would have hardly been a very proper engagement if it hadn't been broken off at least once. But I forgave you before the week was out.
Perfect angel you are, Cecily.
Oh, my dear romantic boy. Does your hair curl naturally?
Well, yes, with a little help from others.
Oh, I'm so very glad.
You'll never break off our engagement again, right, Cecily?
Well, I couldn't possibly now that I've actually met you. Though, of course, there is still the question of your name.
Yes, of course, my name.
Well, you mustn't laugh at me, darling, but it has always been a girlish dream of mine to marry someone whose name was Earnest. The name alone inspires absolute confidence. I pity any poor married woman who isn't married to a man named Earnest.
So, my own dear, sweet, loving little darling, do you mean to tell me you could not love me if I had some other name?
But what name?
Any name you like, really. Take Algernon, for instance.
But I don't like Algernon.
Well, I can't see why you should object to the name of Algernon. It's not a bad name at all. In fact, it's a rather aristocratic name. More than half the chaps in the bankruptcy court are called Algernon. But, no, seriously, Cecily, if my name was Algernon, couldn't you love me?
I might love you, Ernest. I might even respect your character. But I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to give you my undivided attention.
Cecily! Your rector in the village is, I suppose, well versed in the practice of the rites and ceremonials of the church.
Oh yes, Dr. Charitable is a most learned man. He has never written a single novel, so you can imagine how much he must know.
And I must see him at once on a most important christening. I mean important business. Yes,
Well, considering we've been apart from the February 14th last, and we've only met each other today, I think it's rather hard that you leave me for anything as long as 30 minutes. Couldn't you make it 20?
I'll be as quick as I can.
What an impetuous boy he is. Well, I say so very much. I must copy this into my diary.
Miss Fairfax has called to see Mr. Worthing on very important business, Miss Fairfax states.
Is it Mr. Worthing in his library?
Mr. Worthing went in the direction of the rectory some time ago.
Oh, pray, ask the lady to come out here. Oh, and you can bring tea?
Yes, miss.
Miss Fairfax. I suppose that's one of the many elderly women associated with Uncle Jack's philanthropic work. I don't quite like women who are associated with philanthropic work. They think so forward of them.
Miss Fairfax.
Pray, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Cecily Cardew.
Cecily Cardew. What a very sweet name. Something tells me we are going to be great friends. I like her already more than I can say, and my first impressions of people are never wrong.
How nice of you to be so kind to me after we've known each other for a comparatively short time. Oh, pray, sit down.
I may call you Cecily, may I not?
With pleasure.
And you'll always call me Gwendolen, won't you?
If you wish.
So that's quite settled then, is it not?
Oh, certainly.
Perhaps now might be a favourable opportunity of my mentioning of who I am. My father is Lord Bracknell. You've never heard of Papa, I suppose?
No, I don't think so.
Outside the family circle, Papa, I'm glad to say, is entirely unknown. I think that's quite how it should be. The home seems to me to be the proper sphere for the man, and once a man begins to neglect his domestic duties, he becomes painfully effeminate, does he not? And I don't like that. It makes men so very attractive. Cecily, Mamma, whose views on education are remarkably strict, has brought me up to be rather short-sighted. It is part of her system, so do you mind me looking at you through my glasses?
No, not at all, Gwendolen. I'm quite fond of being looked at.
You're here on a short visit, I suppose?
No, I live here.
Really? Your mother, no doubt, or another female relative of advanced years resides here also.
No, I have no mother, nor any relations for that matter.
Indeed.
Miss Prism and my guardian have the odious task of looking after me.
Your guardian?
Yes, I'm Mr. Worthing's ward.
That's strange. He never mentioned to me he had a ward. How secretive of him. He grows more interesting hourly. I'm not sure, however, that the news inspires me with feelings of a mixed delight. I am very fond of you, Cecily. I've liked you ever since I met you, but I'm bound to state that now that I know that you're Mr. Worthing's ward, well, I can't help expressing a wish you were, well, just a little older than you seem to be. Not so very alluring in appearance. In fact, if I may speak candidly.
Oh, please do. I think that whatever has anything unpleasant to say must be quite candid.
Well, to speak with perfect candour, Cecily, I wish you were fully 42 and more than usually plain for your age. Ernest has a strong, upright nature. He is the very soul of truth and honour. Disloyalty would be as impossible to him as deception. But even men of the noblest possible moral character are extremely susceptible to the influence of the physical charms of others. modern no less than ancient history, provides us with many most painful examples of what I refer to. If it were not so, indeed, history would be quite unreadable.
I beg your pardon, Gwendolen, did you say Earnest?
Yes?
But it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is my guardian. It is his brother, his elder brother.
Ernest never mentioned to me he had a brother.
I'm sorry to say they have not been on good terms for quite some time.
That accounts for it. And now that I think of it, I've never heard of any man mention his brother. The subject seems distasteful to most men. Cecily, you've lifted a load from my mind. I was growing almost anxious. It would have been terrible if a cloud was to come across a friendship like ours, would it not? Of course, you are quite certain it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is your guardian.
Quite certain. In fact, I'm going to be his!
I beg your pardon.
My dear Miss Gwendolen, there is no point in keeping it a secret from you any longer. A little county newspaper is sure to chronicle the fete next week, but Mr. Ernest Worthing and I are engaged to be married!
My darling Cecily, I think there may be some slight error. Mr. Worthing is engaged to me. The announcement will appear in the Morning Post on Saturday at the latest.
I am afraid you are under some misconception, Gwendolen. Ernest proposed to me 10 minutes ago.
Well, that's very curious, for he asked me to be his wife yesterday afternoon at 5:30. If you care to verify the incident, pray do so. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to be I am so sorry, dear Cecily, if it's any disappointment to you, but I'm afraid that I have the cry of fame.
It would detest me most, Miss Fairfax, to know that I caused you any mental or physical anguish. But I feel bound to point out that since Ernest proposed to you, he has clearly changed his mind.
If the poor fellow has been entrapped into any foolish promise, then I shall consider it my duty to rescue at once, and with a firm hand.
But whatever entanglement my dear boy may have gotten into, I shall never approach him until after we are married.
You allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement. You are presumptuous. On an occasion such as this, it becomes more than a moral duty to speak one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
Will you suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I entrap Ernest into a marriage? How dare you? This is no time to wear the shallow mask of manners. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
Well, I'm glad to say I've never seen a spade. It is obvious our social spheres have been widely different.
Shall I lay the table for tea as usual, miss?
Yes, as usual.
Are there many interesting walks in the vicinity, Miss Cardew?
Oh yes, a great many. From the top of one of the hills one can see 5 counties.
5 counties? I don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
I suppose that's why you live in town.
Quite a well-kept garden this is, Miss Cardew.
So glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I had no idea there were any flowers in the country.
Flowers are common here, as people are in London.
Personally, I cannot understand how anybody manages to exist in the country. If anybody who is anybody does. The country always bores me to death.
Yeah, that is what the newspapers are calling agricultural depression, is it not? I believe the aristocracy is suffering greatly from it. It is almost an epidemic amongst them. May I offer you some tea, Miss Fairfax?
Yes, thank you. Detestable girl. But I require tea.
A sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar is not fashionable anymore.
A cake or bread and butter?
Bread and butter. Cake is rarely seen at the best houses nowadays.
A hand nap to Miss Fairfax.
You have filled my tea with lumps of sugar, and though I ask most distinctly for bread and butter, you've given me cake. I am known for the gentleness of my disposition and the extraordinary sweetness of my nature, but I warn you, Miss Carter, you may go too far.
To save my poor innocent boy from the machinations of another woman, there are no lengths to which I would not go to.
From the moment I saw you, I distrusted you. I felt that you were false and deceitful. I'm never deceived in such matters. My first
No doubt you have other calls of a similar nature to make in the neighbourhood.
Ernest! My own Ernest!
Gwendolen, darling.
A moment! May I ask, are you engaged to be married to this young lady?
To dear little Cecily? Of course not. What could have put such an idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you, you may. You see, I knew there must be some misunderstanding, Miss Fairfax. And a gentleman whose arm is present around your waist is my guardian, Mr. John Worthing.
I beg your pardon?
This is Uncle Jack.
Jack! Oh!
Here is Ernest. No. Ernest, kindly answer me the following question. Are you engaged to be married to this young lady?
To what, young lady? Good heavens, Gwendolen!
Yes, good heavens, Gwendolen. I mean Gwendolen.
Of course not. What could have put such an idea into a pretty little head?
Thank you. You may.
I felt there may be some slight error, Miss Cardew. The gentleman who is currently embracing you is my cousin, Mr. Algernon Moncrief.
Algernon Moncrief. Oh! Is your name really Algernon?
I cannot deny it.
Is your name really John?
I could deny it if I liked. I could deny anything if I liked, but my name certainly is John. It has been John for years.
Gross deception has been practiced on the both of us.
Oh, my poor wounded Cecily.
My sweet one, Gwendolen.
You will call me sister, will you not?
There is just one question I should be allowed to ask my guardian.
An admirable idea, Mr. Worthing. There is just one question I wish to be permitted to put to you. Where's your brother Ernest? We are both engaged to be married to your brother Ernest, so it is of great importance for us to know where your brother Ernest is at present.
Gwendolen, Cecily, it pains me very much to be forced to speak the truth. It is the first time in my life that I have ever been reduced to such a painful position, and I'm really quite inexperienced in doing anything of the kind. However, I will tell you frankly that I have no brother Ernest. I have no brother at all. I've never had a brother in my life, and I have not the smallest intention of ever having one in the future.
You mean no brother at all?
None.
Had you never a brother of any kind?
Never. Not even of any kind.
I'm afraid it's quite clear, Cecily, that neither of us are engaged to be married to anyone.
It is not a very pleasant position for a young woman to suddenly find herself in, is it?
Let us go into the house. They'll hardly venture to come after us there.
No. Men are so cowardly, aren't they?
This ghastly state of things is what you call bunburying, I suppose?
Well, yes. And the most perfect Bunbury it has been. The most wonderful Bunbury I've ever had in my entire life.
And we've no right whatsoever to Bunbury here.
Well, that's absurd. One has a right to Bunbury anywhere one chooses. Every serious Bunburyist knows that.
Oh, serious Bunburys. Good heavens.
One must be serious about something if one wants to get any amusement out of life. I happen to be serious about Bunbury. What on earth you are serious about, I haven't the remotest idea. About everything I should fancy. You have such an absolutely trivial nature.
Oh, well, the only small satisfaction I have in the whole of this wretched business is that your friend Bunbury is quite exploded. You won't be able to run off to the country quite so often as you used to, dear Algie, and a very good thing, too.
Your brother is a little off colour, isn't he, dear Jack? You won't be able to disappear to London quite so frequently as your wicked custom was. And not a bad thing, either.
As for your conduct towards Miss Cardew, I must say that your taking in a sweet, simple, innocent girl like that is quite inexcusable, to say nothing of the fact that she is my ward.
I can see no possible defence, at all, for your deceiving a young, brilliant, clever, thoroughly experienced young lady such as Miss Fairfax. Say nothing of the fact that she is my cousin.
I wanted to be engaged to Gwendolen, that is all. I love her.
I simply want to be engaged to Cecily. I adore her.
Oh, there is certainly no chance of your marrying Miss Cardew.
I don't think, Jack, there is much likelihood of you and Miss Fairfax being united.
Well, that is no business of yours.
If it was my business, I wouldn't talk about it. It's very vulgar to talk about one's own business. Only people like stockbrokers do that, and even then, merely at dinner parties.
dear. Calmly eating muffins when we are in this horrible trouble I can't make out. You seem to me to be perfectly heartless.
Well, I can't eat muffins in an agitated manner. I'm not a bit on my cuffs. One should always eat muffins quite calmly. It's the only proper way to eat them.
I say, it's perfectly heartless you're eating muffins at all, under the circumstances.
When I'm in trouble, the only thing that consoles me is eating. And indeed, when I'm in really great trouble, as anyone who knows me intimately shall tell you, I will refuse everything except for food and drink. At the present moment, I am eating muffins because I am unhappy. Besides, I'm particularly fond of muffins.
Well, that is no reason why you should eat them all in that greedy way.
Won't you have that tea cake instead, Jack? I don't quite like tea cake.
Oh, good heavens. I suppose a man may eat his own muffins in his own garden.
But you have just said it was perfectly heartless to eat the muffins.
Aha! I said it was perfectly heartless of you, under the circumstances. That is a very different thing.
That may be, but the muffins are the same.
Gee, I wish to goodness you would go.
You can't possibly ask me to go without having some dinner. It's absurd. I never go without having my dinner. Nobody ever does. Except for vegetarians and people like that. Besides, I've just made arrangements with Dr. Chadwell to be christened at 4:46 under the name of Earnest.
Oh, my dear fellow, the sooner you give up that nonsense, the better. I myself have made arrangements to be christened by Dr. Chasuble at 5:30, and I will naturally take the name of Earnest. Gwendolen would wish it. We can't both be christened Earnest, that's absurd. Besides, I have a perfect right to be christened if I like. There is no record whatsoever of me ever being christened by anyone, and I should think it extremely probable I never was, and so does Dr. Chasuble. It is entirely different in your case. You have been christened already.
Yes, but I've not been christened for years.
But you have been christened, that is the important thing.
Quite so. So I know my constitution can stand it. If you are not quite sure about your ever having been christened, I must say I find it rather dangerous of you venturing on this now. Might make you very unwell. You can hardly have forgotten that someone quite closely connected to you was almost carried off this week in Paris by a severe chill.
Oh, that is nonsense. You are always talking nonsense.
Jack! You are at the muffins again. I told you I was fond of muffins, and there's only 2 left.
Oh, but I hate tea cake.
Then why on earth do you offer them up to be served in your house? What ideas do you have of hospitality?
Algernon, I have already told you to go. I don't want you here. Why don't you go?
I've not finished my tea yet. There's still 1 muffin left.
The fact they did not follow us at once into the house, as anyone else would have done, seems to me to show they have some sense of shame there.
They have been eating muffins. That looks like repentance.
They don't seem to notice us. Could you cough?
They haven't got a cough.
They're looking at us. What effrontery.
They are approaching! That's very forward of them.
Let's preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly, this is the only thing to do.
This dignified silence seems to produce an unpleasant effect.
Most distasteful one.
But we will not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Worthing, there is something very particular to ask you. Much depends on your reply.
Well, Gwendolen, your common sense is invaluable. Oh, Mr. Moncrief, kindly answer me the following question. Why do you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
Well, in order the time I get to meet you, Cecily.
It certainly seems like a reasonable explanation.
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
I don't. But but that does not excuse the beauty of his answer.
True. In matters of grave importance, style, not sincerity, is the vital thing. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer to me for pretending to have a brother? Was it in order that you might come up to town as often as possible to see me?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts upon the subject, but I intend to crush them. This is not the time for German scepticism. Their explanations appear to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. That seems to me to have the stamp of truth upon it.
I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrief said. His voice alone inspires one with absolute crudelity.
Then you think we should tell them?
Yes, I mean no.
True, I'd forgotten. There are principles at stake that one cannot surrender. Which one of us should tell them? The task isn't a pleasant one.
But could we not both speak at the same time?
An excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Would you take the time from me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names? Is that all? But we are going to be christened this afternoon.
For my sake, you're prepared to do this terrible thing.
I am.
To please me, you are ready to face this fearful ordeal.
I am.
Darling.
Darling.
Lady Bracknell!
Gwendolen, what does this mean?
Merely that I'm engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Come here. Sit down. Sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental decay in the young and of physical weakness in the old. Apprised, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusty maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin, I followed her at once by luggage train. Her unhappy father is, I am glad to say, under the impression that she is attending a more than usually lengthy lecture by the University Extension Scheme on the influence of a permanent income on thought. I do not propose to undeceive him. In fact, I have never undeceived him on any question. I would consider it wrong. However, you will clearly understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately, from this moment. On this point, as indeed on all points, I am firm.
I'm engaged to be married to Gwendolen, Lady Bracknell.
You were nothing of the kind, sir. And now as regards Algernon. Algernon!
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
May I ask, is this the house in which your invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, resides?
No. Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury is somewhere else at present. In fact, Bunbury's dead.
Dead? When did he die? His death must have been extremely sudden.
I killed Bunbury this afternoon. I mean, poor Bunbury, he died this afternoon.
What did he die of?
Poor Bunbury was quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he the victim of a revolutionary outrage? I was not so aware Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he is well punished for his morbidity.
My dear Aunt Augusta, Bunbury was found out. The doctors found out that Bunbury could not go on living. So that's it, Bunbury died.
He seems to have had great confidence in the opinion of his physicians. I am glad, however, at the last he came to some definite course of action and acted under proper medical advice. And now that we have finally got rid of this Mr. Bunbury, may I ask, Mr. Worthing, who is that young person whose hand my nephew Algernon now seems to be holding in what seems to me a most peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
I am engaged to be married to Cecily, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
I do not know if there is anything peculiarly exciting in the air of this particular part of Hertfordshire, but the number of engagements that go on seem to me I think some preliminary inquiry on my part would not be out of place. May I ask, Mr. Worthing, is Miss Cardew at all connected with any of the larger railway stations in London? I merely desire information, for until yesterday I had no idea that there were any families or persons whose origin was a terminus.
Miss Cecily Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew, of 149 Belgrave Square, SW, the Sporran, Fifeshire, NB, and Gervase Park, Dorking, Surrey.
That is not unsatisfactory. 3 addresses always inspire confidence, even in tradesmen. But what proof have I of their authenticity?
I've carefully preserved the court guides of the period. They're open to your inspection, Lady Bracknell.
I have known strange errors in that publication.
Miss Cardew's family solicitors are Messrs. Markby, Markby, and Markby.
Markby and Markby? A firm of the very highest position in their profession. Indeed, I am told that one of the Mr. Markbys is occasionally to be seen at dinner parties. So far, I am satisfied.
How extremely kind of you, Lady Bracknell. I have also in my possession, you will be pleased to hear, certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and the measles, both the German and English varieties.
A life crowded with incident, I see. Although, perhaps somewhat too exciting for a young girl. I am not myself in favour of premature experiences. Gwendolen, the time approaches for our departure. As a matter of form, Mr. Worthing, I must ask you if Miss Cardew has any little fortune.
Oh, merely £130,000 in the funds. That is all. Goodbye, Lady Bracknell. So pleased to have seen you.
A moment, Mr. Worthing. £130,000, and in the funds. Oh, Miss Cardew seems to me a most attractive young girl now that I look at her. There are few girls of the modern day who have any of the really solid qualities, any of the qualities that last and improve with time. We live, I regret to say, in an age of surfaces. Come over here, dear. Pretty child. Your dress is sadly simple. And your hair seems almost as nature might have left it. But we can soon alter all that. A thoroughly experienced French maid produces a truly marvellous result in a very brief space of time. I remember recommending one to a young lady Lancing, and after 3 months, her own husband did not know her.
And after 6 months, nobody knew her.
Kindly turn around, sweet child. The side view is what I want. Yes. Just as I suspected. There are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The 2 weak points in our age are its want of principle and its want of profile. Chin a little higher, dear. Style largely depends on the way the chin is worn, and they are worn very high just at present. Algernon?
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
There are distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Cecily is the sweetest, dearest, prettiest girl I've ever met, and I don't care a twopence about social possibilities.
Never speak disrespectfully of society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. My sweet child, of course, you know that Algernon has nothing but his debts to depend upon. Though I do not approve of mercenary marriages. When I married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind, but I never dreamed of allowing that to stand in my way. Well, I suppose I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cecily, you may kiss me.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
And you may address me as Aunt Augusta for future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The marriage, I think, had better take place quite soon.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
To speak frankly, I am not in favour of long engagements. They give people the opportunity of finding out each other's character before marriage. And I think that is never advisable.
Excuse me for interrupting you, Lady Bracknell, but this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cardew's legal guardian, and she cannot marry without my consent. That consent I absolutely decline to give.
Upon what grounds, may I ask? Algernon is an extremely, I may almost say ostentatiously eligible young man. He has nothing, but he looks everything. What more can one desire?
It pains me very much to have to speak frankly to you, Lady Bracknell, about your nephew, but the fact is that I do not approve at all of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon? Impossible! He is an Oxonian.
I fear there can be no possible doubt about the matter. This afternoon, during my temporary absence in London, on an important question of romance, he gained admission to my home by means of the false pretense of being my brother. Under an assumed name, he drank, I have just been informed by my butler, an entire pint bottle of my Perrier-Jouet Brut 89, wine I was specially reserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful deception, he proceeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affections of my only ward. He subsequently stayed to tea and devoured every single muffin. What makes his conduct all the more heartless is that he was perfectly well aware from the first that I have no brother, that I've never had a brother, and that I do not intend to have a brother at any point in the future, not even of any kind. I distinctly told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
My dear Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I have decided to entirely overlook my nephew's conduct to you.
Extremely kind of you, Lady Bracknell. My own decision, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come here, sweet child. How old are you, dear?
Well, I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 when going to evening parties.
You are perfectly right in making some slight alteration. Indeed, a woman should never be quite accurate about her age. It looks so calculating. 18, but admitting to 20 at evening parties. Well, it will not be long before you are of age, and free from the restraints of tutelage. So, I don't think your guardian's consent is, after all, a matter of any importance.
Pray excuse me again for interrupting you, Lady Bracknell, but it is only fair to tell you that according to the terms of her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not legally come of age until she is 35.
35 does not seem to me a grave objection. In fact, London society is full of women of the very highest birth who have, of their own free will, remained 35 for years. Lady Dumbleton is an instance in point. To my own knowledge, she has remained 35 ever since she arrived at the age of 40, which was many years ago now. So I see no reason why our dear Cecily should not be even still more attractive at the age you mentioned. There will be a large accumulation of property.
Algie, could you wait for me till I was 35?
You know I could, Cecily. Of course I would.
Oh, I felt it instinctively. But I couldn't wait that long. I hate waiting for anybody even more than 5 minutes. I'm not punctual myself, I know that, but I do value punctuality in others. And waiting even to be married is quite out of the question.
Then what is to be done, Cecily?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
My dear Mr. Worthing, as Miss Cardew states positively that she cannot wait until she is 35, a remark which I am bound to say seems to show a somewhat impatient nature, I would beg of you to reconsider your decision.
Oh, but my dear Lady Bracknell, the matter is entirely in your own hands. As soon as you consent to my engagement with Gwendolen, I will most happily allow your nephew to form an alliance with my ward.
As you are well aware, what you propose is out of the question.
Then a passionate celibacy is all that any of us can look forward to.
That is not the destiny I propose for Gwendolen. Algernon, of course, can choose for himself. Come, dear, we must have missed 5, if not 6 trains already. To miss any more might expose us to comment on the platform.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings.
The christening, sir? Is that not somewhat premature?
Both these gentlemen have expressed a desire for immediate baptism.
At their age, the idea is grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I forbid you to be baptized. I will not hear of such excesses. Lord Bracknell would be highly displeased if he knew that that was the way in which you wasted your time and money.
Am I to understand there's to be no christenings at all this afternoon?
I don't think that, as things are now, it would be of much practical value to either of us, Dr. Chasuble.
I am grieved to hear such sentiments from you, Mr. Worthing. They savour of the heretical views of the Anabaptists. Views that I have completely refuted in 4 of my unpublished sermons. But as your mood seems one peculiar secular, I'll return to the church at once. In fact, I have just been informed by the pew opener that for the last hour and a half, Miss Prism has been waiting for me in the vestry.
Miss Prism? Did I hear you mention a Miss Prism?
Yes, Lady Bracknell, I am on my way to join her.
Pray, allow me to detain you for a moment. Is this Miss Prism a female of a most repellent aspect, remotely connected with education?
She is the most cultivated of ladies, and the very picture of respectability.
It is obviously the same person. May I ask what position she holds in your household?
I am celibate, madam.
Miss Prism, Lady Bracknell, has been for the last 3 years Miss Cecily Cardew's esteemed governess and valued companion.
In spite of what I hear of her, I must see her at once. Let her be sent for.
She approaches. She is mine.
That you expected me in the vestry, dear Karen. I've been waiting for you there for an hour and 3 quarters.
Prism! Come here, Prism! Prism, where is that baby?
Huh?
28 years ago, Prism, you left Lord Bracknell's house, number 104 Upper Grosvenor Street, in charge of a perambulator containing a baby of the male sex. You never returned. A few weeks later, after the elaborate investigations of the Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was discovered at midnight, standing in a remote corner of Bayswater. It contained a 3-volume novel of a more than usually revolting sentimentality. But the baby was not there.
Oh.
Prism, where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I admit with shame I do not know. The plain facts of the case are these. On the morning of the day you mention, a day that is forever branded in my memory, I prepared, as usual, to take the baby out in its perambulator. I had also with me a somewhat old but capacious handbag in which I had intended to place the manuscript of a work of fiction that I had written during my few unoccupied hours, and in a moment of mental abstraction, for which I can never forgive myself, I deposited the manuscript in the bassinet and placed the baby in the handbag.
But where did you deposit this handbag?
Oh, do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
This is a matter of no small importance to me. I insist upon knowing about where you placed the handbag that contained that infant.
I left it in one of the cloakrooms of the large railway stations in London.
Which railway station?
Victoria! The Brighton line!
I must retire to my room for a moment. Gwendolen, wait here for me.
If you're not too long, I'll wait for you here all my life.
What do you think this means, Lady Bracknell?
I dare not even suspect, Dr. Chasuble. I need hardly tell you that in families of higher position, strange coincidences are not supposed to occur. They are hardly considered the thing.
Uncle Jack seems strangely agitated.
Your guardian has a very emotional nature.
This noise is extremely unpleasant. It sounds as though he was having an argument. I dislike arguments of any kind. They are always vulgar and often convincing.
It has stopped now.
is the handbag, Miss Prism. Examine it carefully before you speak. The happiness of more than one life depends on your answer.
Yes, it seems to be mine. Yes, here is the injury it received during the upsetting of a Gower Street omnibus in younger and happier days. Yes, here is the stain on the lining caused by the explosion of a temperance beverage that occurred at Leamington Street. Oh, yes, and here on the lock are my initials. I had forgotten that in an extravagant mood I had had them placed there. Yes, the bag is undoubtedly mine. I must say, it's amazing to be restored to it. It's been a great inconvenience being without it all these years.
More to you was restored than this handbag, Miss Prism. I was the baby you placed in it.
You?
Oh. Yes, Mother!
Mr. Worthing, I am unmarried.
Oh, married? Do not deny that this is a firm blow, but who has the right to cast out a stone against one who has suffered? Cannot repentance wipe out an act of folly? Why should there be one law for men and another for women? Mother, I forgive you!
Worthing, there is some error. There is the lady who can tell you who you really are.
Lady Bracknell, I hate to seem inquisitive, but would you kindly inform me of who I am?
I'm afraid the news I have to give you will not altogether please you. You are the son of my poor sister, Mrs. Moncrief, and consequently, Algernon's elder brother.
Algy's elder brother. I always knew I had a brother. I always said I had a brother. Cecily, how could you have ever doubted that I had a brother? Dr. Chasuble, my unfortunate brother. Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolen, my unfortunate brother. Oh, Algy, you young scoundrel. You will have to treat me with more respect in the future. You have never behaved to me like a brother in all your life.
Well, not till today, old boy. I admit I was a little out of practice, though I will start to get better.
No.
Yeah.
But what own are you? What is your Christian name now that you're someone else?
Good heavens, I had quite forgotten that point. Your decision on the subject of my name is irrevocable, I suppose.
I never change, except in my affections.
What a noble nature you have, Gwendolen.
And the matter had better be settled. Aunt Augusta, a moment. At the time when Miss Prism left me in a handbag, had I been christened already?
Every luxury that money could buy, including christening, had been lavished on you by your fond and doting parents.
And I was christened, that is settled. Now, what name was I given? Let me know the worst!
Well, being the eldest son, you were naturally christened after your father.
Yes, and what was my father's Christian name?
I cannot at the present moment recall the gentleman's Christian name, but I have no doubt that he had one. He was eccentric, I must admit, but only in his later years, and that was the result of the Indian climate, and marriage, and indigestion, and other things of that kind.
Algy, can't you recollect what our father's Christian name was?
I'm afraid not, old boy. We were never on speaking terms. He died before I was a year old.
His name would appear in the army lists of the period, I suppose, Aunt Augusta?
The general was essentially a man of peace, except in his domestic life, but I have no doubt his name would appear in any military directory.
The army lists of the last 40 years are here. Oh, these delightful documents should have been my constant study. M. Generals. Malum, Maxbum, Magley. Oh, what ghastly names they all have. Markby, Miggs, Mobs. Oh, Moncrief! Yeah. Captain. Lieutenant Colonel. Colonel. General. 1869. Christian names. Ernest John! Yes! Yes! I've always said my name was Ernest, didn't I, Gwendolen? It really is Ernest. I mean, it naturally is Ernest.
I remember now that the general's Christian name was Earnest. I knew I had a particular reason for disliking the name.
Ernest. My own Ernest. I felt from the first you could have no other name.
Gwendolen, it is a terrible thing for a man to find out that all his life he has been speaking nothing but the truth. Can you forgive me?
I can. For I'm sure that you will change.
Darling.
Letitia?
Frederick, at last!
Cecily, at last.
Gwendolen, at last.
Lady Bracknell! Fair enough.
My nephew, you seem to be displaying signs of triviality.
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta, I've now realised for the first time in my life the vital importance of being earnest.
Tis has arrived in all her glory. Beau has arrived.
Hello, chicken.
God, that looks staged.
He's brought snacks.
I've brought that marvellous creations.
Whoa.
Everyone's favourite. Some Pepsi Mango.
It's Tom, the main actor. Hello, crew.
TikToks for this week. I have a whole schedule. Tech will also be doing TikToks. Whoa. Do you mind?
Have to fill this massive theatre.
Come on, Eva.
Sell one shot off.
You wave for the vlog. Kirsty's here. The mythical land of Earnest.
Eva, you can't lie to me. I know you're a man.
I only noticed after you stopped calling me.
Come through. Because I will leave my microphone later. But I'm keeping.
No way.
An exercise mat.
Oh yeah.
No more t-shirts from my house now.
It's a lovely Neve doing my patch test for me.
Put that cookie down! Now!
decided to play monkey.
There we go.
I've got one plan. For heaven's sake, don't try to be cynical. It's perfectly easy to be cynical.
Well, it isn't perfectly easy to be anything now.
I've got a cake.
Break time. There's baby Algernon chilling. It's his family. Oh.
What?
That a successful rehearsal / run stuff.
What of the importance of being earnest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Unreal. Brandon actually smashed it. Yeah. Especially when he stepped in and did face ID sound.
You heard it there first.
Oh, they.
Bye. Bye.
Oh.
Day 1 complete.
Slow down, lie down.
Algie, you young scoundrel! You must get out of this place as soon as possible. I don't allow any bundling here.
Remember how this used to be. Baby, let's get grant my last request and just let me hold you. Don't shrug your shoulders. Lay down beside me. Sure, I can accept that we're going nowhere, but one last time let's go there. Lay down beside me. Oh, I found that I'm bound to wander down that one-way road. Oh, and I realize all about your life.
It sounds so disgusting. I just like answering to many times. They're always longer and often convincing.
Stop my dear!
Baby, let's get closer.
One puffin left.
Grant my last request and just let me hold you. Don't shrug your shoulders. Lay down beside me and sure I can accept that we're going nowhere. But one last time, let's go there. Ooh, lay down beside me. Oh, baby, baby, baby. Tell me how can this be wrong? Grant my last request and just let me hold you. Don't shrug your shoulders. Lay down beside me. Sure, I can accept that we're going nowhere, but one last time, let's go there. Lay down
Very good.
beside me.
You know what? I need a wee, but that'll help with dancing.
Sophie, appreciate Lord. How are you feeling?
Confident.
Yeah.
One, two, three, four, five, four, three, two, one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, lay down beside.
We're landing.